might say, or whether it's something else, something non-personal and something non-material, perhaps. Whatever we may put in that position in our thinking, there was something that was there that explains everything that has come about since. The material universe came about, most physicists and most astronomers and scientists of almost all disciplines believe, by a Big Bang. Now, it's not my interest to discuss whether I think the Big Bang is the best explanation of the origin of the universe or not. But let's take that as a starting point, since most scientists believe it. The Big Bang is usually considered to be the beginning of the universe, the beginning even of time, the beginning of natural law, and everything else has come out from that. But since the Big Bang is really the beginning of nature, whatever was before that, or whatever caused the Big Bang, cannot be part of nature. And therefore, whatever is ultimate, whatever stands behind nature, whatever stands behind the universe as its cause, it is my contention, is something that is not part of nature. And it's therefore, the only word we have to explain something that's not part of nature would be supernatural, unless it's subnatural. But supernatural would seem to be the best explanation. So you either believe that nature is ultimate, or that something or someone supernatural is ultimate. Now, we do know some things, and we all know these things. We know, for example, there are laws of cause and effect. All scientists believe this. All scientists use these laws and have counted on them. And the laws of cause and effect tell us that for every effect, there must be an adequate cause. Now, the word adequate is very important, because an effect cannot have been caused by an inadequate cause, something that's not adequate to produce it. All that we see, the universe, life, everything we see, is the effect of some cause. And the question must be asked, what cause is adequate to produce the things we see? Now, that's what I would like to examine. However, there are some, atheists especially, who have suggested that the ultimate is simply the universe itself, or maybe a previous universe. Maybe there's multiverse. Maybe there's many universes, and some of the early ones caused this one. For example, Bertrand Russell, in his essay, Why I'm Not a Christian, said, there's no reason why the world could not have come into being without a cause. Nor, on the other hand, is there any reason why it should not have always existed. There is no reason to suppose that the world had a beginning at all. The idea that things must have a beginning is really due to the poverty of our imagination. Therefore, perhaps I need not waste any more time upon the argument about the first cause. So in an essay about Why I'm Not a Christian, he says, I don't really need to spend much time on the question of first cause, because as far as I'm concerned, the world itself could be the first cause. It may be uncaused. Maybe the universe itself was always there. Well, the problem with that particular suggestion is, A, there's hardly a scientist in the world today who would agree with him that the world was always there. Stephen Hawking, for example, who's certainly one of the deans of the sciences today, he said almost everyone now believes that the universe and time itself had a beginning at the Big Bang. Stephen Hawking also wrote elsewhere, he said, the odds against a universe like ours emerging out of something like the Big Bang are enormous. I think there are clearly religious implications, he said. Now, Stephen Hawking's not a Christian, not even a theist. But he said the odds against a universe like ours emerging from a Big Bang, the odds against it are staggering, he said. He says, I think there are clearly religious implications. He didn't say theistic, but certainly there are things that cause awe. There are things that we marvel at, we cannot explain, that science may never be able to explain. The point is, though, that Bertrand Russell said, well, who knows, maybe the world was always here. Well, he's not in step with modern science, and he can't be faulted for that. He lived before the Big Bang cosmology became dominant in scientific community. But since the time of the Big Bang notion becoming popular, all scientists, or almost all scientists, Stephen Hawking said, believe that the universe had a beginning. Now, something had a beginning. It, generally speaking, we say it had a cause. Now, one reason that I personally would reject, even if I were not a Christian believer, I would reject the idea of nature having caused itself, or nature being ultimate, or the universe being ultimate, is because whatever is natural is subject to natural laws. We know of no exceptions. We don't know of anything in nature that that doesn't subject itself or is subject to natural law. And some of the most unyielding and universal laws of nature that scientists count on are the laws of thermodynamics. Now, sometimes atheists use the first law of thermodynamics to say that the universe didn't come into existence because the first law says that no matter or energy can be destroyed and none is ever created. Of course, that's ruling out the possibility of a supernatural creation. That's begging the question, isn't it? Because then we're trying to ask whether there could have been an original supernatural creation. But the second law says that it's the law of increasing entropy. That with every transition of matter to energy, there is a loss of available energy resulting in an increase in randomness or entropy. Everything breaks down. Now, evolutionists believe that in the living world, because of natural selection, that the living world has moved from simple things to more complex things. That's not specifically what I'm here to debate right now, although I have my disagreements with evolution also. But the point is, even if evolution is true, it only holds true in the biological sphere, not in the sphere of the universe. All of nature is subject to the laws of entropy. Everything's breaking down. Eventually the sun itself will burn out, and all the stars will burn out because they're made of fuel that is burning. And the law of entropy says eventually this will burn up and they won't be here anymore. They can't have been here forever and ever, or else they would have burned up forever and ever ago. Nature cannot have always been here because it is subject to its own laws. And nature had to have a beginning. It had to have a starting point from which to wear down from. And therefore my own thinking would lead me to believe, even if I had not been exposed to any religion, that the founder of nature, the creator of nature, must be supernatural, something that is itself or himself not subject to the laws of nature, not subject to entropy. And that leads me in the direction of believing in theism, of course. Now, there are certain things that we know that I think lead to the conclusion that there is a God, and that we're not talking here about what they call a God of the gaps. Critics of theism sometimes say, well, you just believe in a God of the gaps. And what that means is there are gaps in our scientific knowledge. There are things we don't know yet. Science hasn't figured out yet. And in order to explain that, theists just stick in God there. The ancient people didn't know why a volcano goes up, so they said the volcano God makes it happen. Now seismologists and geologists can tell us why volcanoes blow up. We don't need a God there to make the volcano blow up. And so they say everything that was once attributed to the dead